So I just got this. This news came in. I don't know if you saw this. This is from The Verge. And it says Zelda is finally getting her own game. So after so many years of Nintendo doing The Legend of Zelda, you can finally play as the princess. So my question is, how excited are you?
I'm very excited about that. I mean, Zelda is one of my favorite games of all time. I mean,
so you
love
like
that
you
game.
will. So will you buy this? Do you have a Nintendo Switch? Like,
no,
how
I
does
see.
this
I
work for
don't.
you?
I don't. That's the rub of all of this. I have gotten rid of all of my gaming systems. So I have, hashtag done all the adulting now, and I have sadly lost my Xbox, my Nintendo, my PS. I had a PS3. I didn't actually graduate to the PS4. So.
Well, I looked it up. I was going to buy it, but apparently it's not compatible with my Commodore 64.
There you go.
That's really
that's it, right? So no princess for you.
No princess for either of us, I guess.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. On This Old Marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose. Welcome to episode number 433 for Friday, June 21st, 2024. And with me, as always, as he always is, my friend and a guy who, well, he didn't get fired from Wells Fargo for fake working, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
What's the fake working thing? Like, what's the Is this just watching keystrokes at Wells Fargo? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, there's so much childish humor here. Yes. Yes. As the news report is coming out, and there's a lot of people covering this. Yes, 15 workers at Wells Fargo were fired for basically manipulating their keyboards and mice, as one does if you are being tracked. If you're being tracked by your corporate overlords. And yes, they were basically not working, but they were manipulating their keyboards mechanically. Or, there's these little robots now you can buy. Like, there's a mouse pad I know you can buy that basically moves your mouse around so that it fools the tracking software into thinking that you're actually at your computer when you're actually off by the pool drinking a margarita. So yeah, I guess 15 people got caught doing this. By the way, not completely, no irony intended here, but yes, they were all in their investment and wealth management division,
which makes perfect sense.
Absolutely, perfect sense. But the funny thing is that the news that's getting covered here, I'm not sure why the Wells Fargo would seem like this is a good thing to talk about, because every news article angle that I've seen has been like, well, this is just redonkulous that they're actually tracking these people. I mean, it's basically the articles are all about employee surveillance, not that these workers were necessarily
it's like it's like if I have an AirTag and I put it in my kid's car without telling them,
right,
which you're not allowed to do. That's illegal. You can't do that, which
I think you can with your kids. Yeah,
I don't think you can. I think you actually have to tell if they're of adult age, which mine are.
Well, that's a different maybe if they're adult. Yeah,
it's not like, but it's not like.
So have you've now removed
AirTag on his back or anything? I mean, it's in the car. But I was trying to position it to my youngest. I'm like, no, we're not following you. We just want to know where the car's at. If we lose the car. So it's nothing about you. We just want to let you know.
Right. Well, now they have
that's sort of what Wells Fargo's doing.
The insurance companies now have these apps, right, where you can stick a little AirTag thing in your car, and it'll tell you how fast the car is driving and whether it made sudden stops and whether or not
it's Big Brother. That's so like people think it's
good.
I guess because they actually do a really good job of positioning and say, hey, we're going to put this in your car because then your insurance will come down.
Right.
But then you're like, oh, you're watching everything that I do.
Oh, sure.
And there's a record of this. That's not good.
100% that's affecting the tables, the sort of risk tables that they manage and how they I mean, it's all about the data, right? I mean, for sure that's what this is all about. But
I
they have that now in work places too. I have been I would say 6 or 7 of the last 10 workplaces that I have visited, what they have now are your badges now locate you. They will locate you in the building. So they know every door you've gone in, they know where you are in the building, and they can literally it's like Star Trek, right? I mean, they can literally they know exactly where you are in the building at all times.
Well, I told you about my experience on Princess Cruise Lines, right? I told you this? Did I not
Oh
tell you this?
yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
That's
that
right.
you get, instead of a room key, you get a medallion. So
Right.
the medallion does a couple things. Like when you're just getting close to your door will open. It automatically, so you don't even have to unlock it or wave the wand or whatever. If you just get close, it says, "Welcome back, Joe." I'm like, okay, that's a little freaky, but I go in. Okay, but the best thing is this is where they get you because there's such great benefits. So there, I wanted a drink of some. I'm on a cruise. I would like to
Right.
partake in the alcohol somewhere. So I'm going to get a drink, and I
Shocking.
go and look. And I'm on the whatever veranda by the pool, and there's a really long line. It's
Yeah.
way too long. And of course, I'm not going to stand in line. I'm not going to.
Right.
But I go on my app and I say, I would like a drink delivered to me. And it says, find me. And it will find me on the cruise ship and it will deliver it to me.
So why would you ever wait in line? Why would anybody wait in line?
There's no reason to anymore. But I still had to wait 5 minutes. I mean,
You're
they
gonna have
had
to wait,
go.
but now you're waiting in your chair, looking at the beautiful ocean and hanging out, reading your book,
It's
right?
beautiful.
It's
I
not,
don't actually have to get
you
up
don't have to
anymore.
stand
Like,
and
well, you're on
yeah.
a cruise. You're not supposed to do anything. That's sort of, you do it.
Right.
It's the laziest. It's the laziest of all vacations.
It's like
you could
Wall-E,
possibly
right?
take,
You're literally
is
like
being on a cruise
Wall-E.
ship.
All those people in their chairs.
But see, that's how they get you. Can you imagine the data that they have on me because of like where I go on the boat and everything? And I'm sure it probably works off the boat too, because you have to take it with you off to get back onto the cruise ship.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
have to, so they know where I'm going, what restaurants I'm going to, what sites I'm seeing. I mean, the kind of data that they have is scary. Same with Apple and their AirTags or whatever AirTag system you're using.
Well, and Google's now doing that with Wi-Fi traffic and all that sort of thing. It's because it's like you wonder how when you do a Google search for a restaurant or whatever, and they show that, where it's busy and where it's not busy. And they sort of have predictive analytics to say, well, it's usually busy at this time or not busy at that time. The way they do that is, of course, they're tracking you with your cell connection as well as your if you're connecting to their Wi-Fi. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because I just my wife has a love affair with her sunglasses.
Okay.
And so she loves them. They're Costas. They came from a friend of ours. We absolutely love them. And she left them at the Cleveland Guardians game.
Oh.
And she was so depressed about it. I think she's more depressed than if I left and I got left. I really she loved these so much, and I never saw her so down. She's like, okay, well, luckily the next day they were in Lost and Found.
Oh.
But for her birthday, I don't know if this is a good present or not. For her birthday, I bought her an AirTag so she could put it inside her case, and she would always know. She would always know where they are.
That's right. That's good.
But I wanted to know how the technology worked. The technology works. It flows through everyone else's Apple devices.
Correct.
If there's another Apple device that has their Bluetooth permissions on or whatever, like a Find My Phone thing, it will go through that. And I went with AirTag versus whatever the other tagging system is because there are more Apple devices available. And I felt no matter where she left her glasses, there would be an Apple device somewhere in the vicinity.
Somewhere
I
nearby.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how they worked. So.
Yeah, they and I believe they also connect to the devices via Wi-Fi. So in other words, it doesn't necessarily have to be a device that's right next to it. Maybe that's not true. That may be not true because the Wi-Fi.
I only thought it had to be another Apple device.
I'm
Bluetooth
sure it is. Yeah, in proximity. Yeah,
or whatever. But brilliant. I mean, the whole thing. But again, Big Brother, man.
Yeah,
Big,
I know.
like we should all be afraid. This is like a George Orwell novel.
Well,
Like
you add
happening.
AI into this, and it's just a, it's going to get, to quote our favorite movie, Batman, right? It's going to get nuts in here. So,
I did. Yeah, I did. I wrote my newsletter this week, and Pam said, you can write it on whatever you want, but please no AI. Like you've done like the last 3 newsletters you've done, they've all been AI in the title. And she said, please, for the love of God, nobody wants. Everybody's doing AI.
I'm starting to hear the fatigue. I'm
We're getting
literally
AI
now
fatigue.
starting to hear the fatigue from both the buy side and sell side, right? Sort of those that are out there talking about this stuff and those who are thinking about it. It's not that there's a lack of interest, for sure. What it is like there's just a like, okay, enough. Can we talk about something else, right? It has indeed sucked most of the oxygen out of the room.
You want to this may be relevant to our listeners. You want to know a really good case study that I'm using ChatGPT 4.0 for? This is what I'm starting to work on the next rendition of The Will to Die, and I don't remember all the relationships and how, like, I'd have to reread my book. It's been 5 years since I wrote that book. I don't remember all the situations. So I took the manuscript and I uploaded it into my own little thread of ChatGPT. And now I use that to ask questions about what happened here and who did this and what date was this
fantastic.
and whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, because I thought I would have to spend some time and like reread it and take notes again so that I could figure it out. It's like, I don't have to. Now I just use it as my little assistant. And that's like the best usage I've had for ChatGPT. And it's great. It works. It's dead on. I'm like, describe Jess or describe Will and describe Will's relationship with Sam or whatever. And I just ask those questions and they just go right into it. Boom. I'm like, I love you.
Yeah,
I love
that's
you.
good.
I don't need you, human being.
Yeah. I don't need you, Joe. I don't need you, Joe.
I'm not necessary.
You should just have ChatGPT write the whole damn thing.
Necessary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Every time necessary comes up, I think of the quote from Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Remember that
necessary?
One? Is it necessary to drink my own urine? No, but it's sterile and I like the taste. Sorry.
That's a good cue for us to move into our show, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Because that's necessary. All right. We've got a great show. We've got some big stories to cover, including the Surgeon General, who has come out this week and said that social media needs a cigarette-like warning. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about whether Perplexity is actually stealing content or whether this is just a bump in the road as Forbes is going to sue the company. TikTok is introducing a new human-like AI-generated avatar. What could possibly go wrong?
Every word you said in that title is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Is basically it.
That's right. So then we'll get to our hits and misses where I will talk a little bit about bacon because, of course, bacon makes everything better. Joe will talk a little bit about American Express. And then we'll get to our rants and raves where I will talk a little bit about the Con Lions, which is all they're all
that Con.
Trust me, I've made that joke. I've made that joke this week. And Joe will talk a little bit about shockingly print. Print is
I'm going to talk about something new this week. I'm going to talk about print.
That's right.
Because somebody has to.
Have you been paying attention to the Con Lion Awards? Or
not even
the Festival of Creativity.
Not even a little bit. Although I have been there. I've been there once during Con Lion. I didn't go to any of the events, but we just happened to be there. Which is I didn't even know what was going on. I was just
we saw Elon Musk was there. I mean, so I figured you would go if Elon was there.
That's right. Well, that's right. Is this his Mea Culpa tour to get more advertisers or what? Is that what he's doing at Con?
This is the I didn't mean it. I'm doing jazz hands for all of you who aren't watching the video. Yeah. Basically I didn't don't listen to what I say.
I read somewhere, probably in Forbes or something, that 65% of the advertisers who left Twitter X are now back. Do you believe that that's true?
I do not. I do not believe that that's true.
You think that that's false?
I believe that is a falsehood.
My pillow's back.
Yes, I believe. Yes, I do believe that there are a number of advertisers that are back, but none of them that are spending any real money. Let's put it
No,
that
the
way.
article went on and talked about how ridiculously cheap the space is on Twitter now, and they're getting all kinds of
Well,
advertisers in because
I mean,
it's so cheap. Is that
fair
I don't
enough,
even
and
know how
that
much
and
it
they
costs.
may and the actual number of advertisers may have come back because of that. Because it's like it's one of those things where it's like, well, we might as well. I mean, it's a rounding error on a rounding error. So in terms of a budget thing, so it's like,
Yeah.
sure, throw a few bucks at it to see if it works, right? Kind of thing where. I mean, if you're the only one in the room screaming about something, you're likely to get some attention. So, it's probably, I don't know, the place has just become such, I mean, I still maintain a ghost account there just so I can look at stuff. So, but,
Are you still on?
know.
Do you still spend time on?
I don't spend any other than what the research for this show to come up with news stories. Sometimes I'll see things in articles that mention Twitter threads, X threads. And when you click through, you go to Twitter. And of course, now you have to have an account to really see anything of any consequence. So I do have a ghost account that I use for that. That's not associated with me or anything.
Yeah, I mean, people still, even though I haven't been active on Twitter since forever, I still get DMs there on occasion where people don't.
Do
So
you
I'm
really?
like, hey, I'm not on this.
You
one.
get like your account is still there. You just
my account is still there, but I basically I kept the account and I said I'm not. My pin thing is I'm not active on Twitter. You can find me here.
I see.
That's basically what I'm.
So you didn't really quit. You didn't really quit. You're just sort of you're sitting on the sidelines waiting.
I'm sitting on the sidelines. I mean, I don't know. It's 149,000 fake followers that I have, and I don't believe that they're real followers, but it seems like a significant number that I worked very hard to get, and I think someday they'll be real. That's kind of how I believe it's going to come back.
You're literally the Rudy of Twitter. Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it.
You're hoping for a fourth quarter, insertion into the game.
It's gonna happen. It's like my lottery ticket. It's gonna be amazing at some point. 10 years from now, it's gonna be worth something.
Good luck with that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Let's get to our first story here, which is making all of the mainstream news. Which is that, and what we'll link to in the show notes, of course, is coming to us courtesy of Morning Brew. The headline, Surgeon General, social media needs SIG-like warning. And cigarette, I guess they just had a headline character count issue, so they put SIG-like warning. Anyway, the article opens up and says, in a plea to Congress, Dr. Vivek Murthy referenced a 2019 study that found risks of depression doubled among teens who scroll for more than 3 hours per day. Then the article goes on to say the top health official in the U.S. is urging Congress to pass legislation. Oh, that's adorable. That would stamp social media apps with a Surgeon General's warning stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents. The Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy's push for a warning label follows years of alarming sounding with his strongest appeal to lawmakers yet. He referenced this 2019 study that basically found risks of depression doubled among teens who scrolled for more than 3 hours, and a 2023 Gallup poll showing that U.S. teens log an average daily use of 4.8 hours on social media. Why is it that we have failed to respond to the harms of social media when they are no less urgent or widespread than those posed by unsafe cars, planes, or food? Murthy wrote, alluding to driverless car permits getting rescinded, Boeing's groundings, and listeria-related dairy recalls this year. Adding a warning label is likely to make some parents think twice about unsupervised scrolling. Again, adorable. But anyway, so the article goes on to talk about that actually some states have started to make some legislation around this. What say you about all of that?
Well, these types of warnings have worked so well in our past that I'm assuming this will work as well. Now, first of all, I love this initiative. I love what's trying to be done because we've talked about how damaging social media. Yeah, it's something. So I guess it's better than nothing. This will do nothing,
right?
Even if they made it happen. But I like that more and more of these things. Like I would imagine it. In the last 6 to 9 months, we've covered a lot of these types of stories where you have Florida or Utah or other states that are suing Meta more and more of these things are starting to happen, then maybe something will be done. It'll happen in the United States on the state level, like it has happened in Florida. And I don't think there'll ever be a federal mandate for this, but if you get enough states behind it, parents are gonna, it can't come from it. It's not going to come from parents to supervise this. I'd like to think so, but if you're a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old and all your friends are on social media and that's how you communicate, that's how you're going to communicate.
Yeah,
unless
that's right.
Unless your other friends are not doing it. So there has to be some way for everyone to be off of that at an age, and I think it should be at least 14. But
yeah,
but this is a good start. This is a good start.
Well, I think it is. I think, what if you go back and look at some of the studies that came out of the graphic, I mean, as sort of warnings on cigarette labels became more and more sort of alarming, as it were. I mean, that's at a certain point they had skull and crossbones on them and all that kind of stuff. It's like they're death
You ever
sticks.
see the ones in Europe? I mean, the one, it's just like you almost get sick to your stomach. They're so
yeah. I mean, well, some of the ads too, right? I mean, some of the ads that are just they're just absolutely horrifying. About what happens when you have to have a tracheotomy and all that kind of stuff to be able to breathe, and like so it gets pretty graphic. But a lot of the research found that it didn't really curb, but it did make smokers feel bad. You know what I mean? In other words, it's like, it's a little bit like, yeah, I'm still going to do it. I don't care about the labels to make me stop.
I know it's killing me.
I know it's killing me. And now I just feel worse about that. Right.
So
it's like,
so if somebody saw this, let's say before you open up Instagram or TikTok, and you get the warning, it's like, using this application for more than 2 hours a day has shown increase in suicide rates.
That's right. And you go, bummer, and then go ahead and scroll. It makes me.
I don't know if it's helpful though. I don't know if it's helpful because you're actually putting the thought into a young brain already.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
I think that what would work better is if you open up TikTok and like your phone shocks you. Like that, that would work. I think that kind of thing would work. Or you start like, or if you can use Instagram, but it emits a smell and an odor where people don't want to be near you. Like that might.
Well,
let's get creative, folks.
That's really, I mean, I think that in many ways, that was really the thing that started to affect it, was not necessarily the label on cigarettes, but the social
stigma
pressure, the social peer pressure that started to really take effect, like no smoking in restaurants, no smoking in the lobby, no smoking in the hotel room, no smoking here, no smoking there, no smoking on airplanes. No, it just became more and more and more where cigarette smokers were really ostracized and put off in a corner. And it sort of became sort of like this thing that you had to do off in a corner, right? Because it was like you were doing something that was considered bad, right? And by society. And I think that would be the interesting development here, is if we start to see social media usage start to be seen, especially by younger people, as like uncool, right? And that will be, I don't know if that's happening anytime soon, but that would be the interesting thing to me.
It's interesting. I don't know if it's happened in your circle, but when we get together, with our friends get together, there was a moment years ago where somebody could look at something quickly and then whatever. Now, it seems like today more and more we sort of all like, hey, now is the time we're not on our phones. Like, even if it's something that we want to look up, we can look it up later. Like, this is social time. We're not going to put these phones in. I wonder if kids would get to that point, because you still, when I go out to eat or something and I see there's like, let's say there's mom and a dad and two kids, the two kids are on the phone. Even sometimes the parents are on the phone.
Yep. I've seen that a lot in restaurants where the parents are on the phones and the kids are on, they basically, I've seen many, many, many times. And look, I don't have young children, so it's not fair for me to judge this, but it's an observation I have, which is there are many times when I see young kids sitting at a table and basically the parents come in, they prop up an iPad, they put on something, and then they eat, right? Then they
Yep.
they have and the kid's not even literally. I mean, the kid is there.
It's just a distraction. Yeah,
It's
just
not
like
part of the conversation. And then the 13-year-old, or the 14-year-old is on their phone, sort of, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling as everybody eats, and sort of that's the way they do it. And then sometimes it's as bad as you see every member of the family just on the phone. That's all they all of them are on the phone. So my wife took me out. So she was trying to like force me away from screens this last weekend. And, because I tend to get a little wrapped up in work and can work all day Saturday and all day Sunday and sort of not have a weekend. And she's like, you need to get out. And so she took me to a museum. We went to this amazing museum called the Broad Museum here in Los Angeles. And they had, all this really awesome modern art. We had a lovely day. We go to eat lunch at this beautiful restaurant, downtown LA, outside on a patio, beautiful, gorgeous, windy, sort of, breezy day. And next to us is a family that's having lunch as well. They sat down, and it became a game with my wife and I, because they sat down and literally did not say a word to each other the entire time. They were on their phones they literally sat down, pulled out their phones. They ordered food with the waiter separately, right? Each was looking at their phone, looked up, said, I'll have this, I'll have that. Did not say a word. They left before we did. Didn't say a word the entire time. And we were like looking at each other going, it's just kind of sad, really.
On a little bit of that note, just with the phone thing, it's not in our show notes or anything, but did you see the LA schools that approved
banning phones?
Cell phone, banning phones. I don't know if it's going to happen, because I think there's another thing that has to happen.
Yeah, it's California. A lot of things have to happen. So,
but it's interesting that it's funny, because I think we talked about this before, but we have a lot of teacher friends, and they say that whenever they try to do anything with the cell phones, it's not the kids that are the problem.
No, it's the parents.
The parents.
Yeah.
The parents want to be able to text their kids throughout the day. And I'm like, I just didn't think that was an issue.
That's right. That's right. And what's so sad is that I was watching the news, and one of the parents, their reasoning, this is where we are. This is where we are as a country. Their reasoning for saying, I hate the idea of banning cell phones for my kids in school, is because they were like, well, what if a shooter comes in? Like, what if a shooter comes in and starts shooting up the school? I need my kid to be able to text me and tell me what's going on. It's like, oh man, that's where we're at, right? And it's just, I don't necessarily fault the parent for saying that. Yep. But at the same time, it's like, really, that's where we are. that's our current status. Anyway,
I think I think in the next 3 years, you'll start to see a good amount of schools approve that where you go in and it's like going to a Dave Chappelle concert where you can't take yourself. I get it goes in the little baggie that you can't unzip or whatever it is,
or goes in the box that's locked up.
It's whatever. I mean, when I did a little speech at St. Joe's, which is a high school right down the street from us, and I did a whole thing on marketing, which they were probably bored with. But the best thing is all the ladies were coming into the room, and they had on the wall. It was like a thing where you put your shoes or put socks or something. Well, right. Everybody had to put their cell phone in one of those spots,
cubby,
and then
in their cubby.
Yeah. And there was one person that still had it on them, had to get up and put it in there. So so that classroom solved that issue. Yeah,
I like it.
It's a thing, because you know what? It's very hard to be on social media when you don't have your phone with you.
Yeah, it's very exactly.
We solved it.
We did. We absolutely did solve it.
Everything.
Well, speaking of solving things, should we pay a couple of bills before we move along here?
We might as well.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a pause. Take a deep breath in, then slowly exhale all the stress out of your body. That calm you're feeling right now? Well, that's what you get with HubSpot. Their all-in-one customer platform takes all the chaos of business and replaces it with one single powerful platform for all your teams. Generate better leads for marketing, close more deals for sales, and earn more 5-star reviews for your service. So don't hold your breath. Visit HubSpot.com to learn more today. You ready for another bite of a podcast? Well, try Another Bite. That's right, the podcast is called Another Bite. It's hosted by John Dick, Jory Monroe, and Ariel Boswell. Each week, they break down episodes of everybody's favorite business TV show, Shark Tank, offering their own unique thoughts, spin-off companies, critiques, and even talk with some of the folks who pitched the sharks and live to tell the tale. From squatty potties to mensch on a bench and even that weird golf club you pee into, Another Bite takes a fresh look at some of your favorite episodes and even more importantly, answers those all-important questions, what are these entrepreneurs up to today? Follow Another Bite wherever you follow your favorite podcasts.
I watched a video, and I'll send it to you, or I can put it in the show notes too. It was of a musician who was talking about the AI music that's out there and was sharing some AI music that they found that was actually really, really good. That he was basically, the point he was making is he couldn't listen that was AI music, but his son and his daughter could immediately tell it was AI from some kind of humming in the background that they picked up, and he couldn't.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was like, so maybe when you get older, you can't pick up certain things that younger kids can. And I didn't know that.
I know what I notice is, a lot of people are putting out these fun sort of, friend and family of the show, Chris Penn. He did one for Ann Handley where he wrote, some lyrics and put it into the AI music and came out with the thing. And, you see these, they're on TikTok a lot, right? Where it's funny, very funny lyrics. And then they've got the music behind them. What I notice is that what it's not good at yet is structure, right? It doesn't actually, I can tell immediately because it's a weird, it becomes this weird sort of rhyming structure or they force sort of the lyrics into like an extra 4 bars or something like that. And so you're like, it doesn't sound right. Right. So if you can listen I can't hear the hum. I mean, I can't,
you can't hear anything.
Well,
hello,
I have a fairly mild version of tinnitus. And so, and of course it's the same exact frequency as when we leave our refrigerator or freezer door open. And so it is not uncommon for me to be in my office or in the living room or something, and my wife to be in the bedroom saying, the refrigerator door is open. Can you not hear that? It's like, oh, darn it. Yeah, I can't. It's the exact same frequency as a lot of alarms. So
hello, Elizabeth. I left my shoes in the refrigerator again. Right. My shoes and my glasses.
There it is. Hello. Hello.
That's a little Jerky Boys callback for those people that grew up with Jerky Boy. Oh my God, I loved that was our jam. Like that in college, we didn't have social media. We had the Jerky Boys. It was
you did on cassette tapes. You would have it on cassettes, and you would listen to the Jerky Boys albums on cassette tapes.
That's what the world was. All was right with the world when you just had cassettes and vinyl.
Make America great again.
Make America print and vinyl again.
Print and vinyl and cassettes.
If only.
8-track tapes.
If only.
All right.
8-track. I love
8-track. I miss 8-track tapes. Those were great. That they would click and then it would go to the other side and play in reverse.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. So good. I had Glass Houses by Billy Joel on 8-track, and I listened to it 1,000 times because that's the only one I had.
I had so check this out. I had Kiss, Detroit Rock City, and then I had what was it? The Captain and Tennille. It's like
there's nothing wrong with
two most opposite things ever.
But that says a lot about you, actually.
It does.
Because that's sort of, you have eclectic taste, if you will. That's what people appreciate.
That's what that says
about you.
I'm not sure. That's what that says. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's move along here to our next story, which comes to us courtesy of Axios. And it is all about Perplexity. You using Perplexity as a search engine?
I have not. I've heard good things though.
I've tried it a little bit, and it's good. Yeah, it is actually quite good. But Forbes doesn't think so. So the headline here is that Forbes threatens Perplexity with legal action. Forbes sent a letter to the CEO of AI search startup Perplexity, accusing the company of stealing text and images and a willing infringement of Forbes' copyright rights, according to a copy of the letter obtained by Axios. Publishers fighting to protect their intellectual property are stuck in a game of whack-a-mole as they confront not just the biggest AI companies like OpenAI or Google, but also smaller AI startups. Forbes General Counsel Maria Rosa Cardolano. This sounds like the family.
Good job.
Yeah. Maria Rosa Cardolano.
Yeah.
She sent
Take the cannoli. Leave
sent
with
the letter
gun, take
days
the
after
cannoli.
Forbes chief content officer Randall Lane accused Perplexity's AI's chatbot of ripping off Forbes' reporting without attribution. Apparently, the chatbot tried to give credibility to the Forbes story it presented by citing other sourced reports that were actually just aggregated stories of Forbes' original report. Oops. And so the article goes on to talk about how the CEO has basically tried to defend the company's practices. Basically, it was part of a new product feature that has rough edges, quote unquote, and conceded that journalists that we agree on your feedback that it should be a lot easier to find the contributing sources and so on and so forth. So what do you think? Is this basically just moving too fast and breaking too much?
Oh, yeah. They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And
Yeah.
even the comments from the CEO were dumb. And they
Yeah.
just screwed the whole thing up. He didn't even play it like, oh my, I mean, he definitely came off as guilty. So there, we've talked about this a few times. There's going to be multiple lawsuits where Perplexity and these other AI companies are going to have so much money at some point, because we've never seen this type of money coming into one market as the AI is right now. They're just going to have to pay off. I actually was thinking, I don't know if you think that this could be a thing, but is there a general class action lawsuit against anyone who has web content where you would join because they're scraping everybody's content? They're just doing it because they're moving fast. They're breaking things, as you said. There's all kind. But there's no real legal implications besides they're gonna. This is one. Okay, great. We see this. There's gonna be another one. There's gonna be another one. They're ripping off everybody, and then they're going to do these publisher deals, actually, like OpenAI has been doing, where they've got 3 or 4 significant deals with media companies in place to pay them to scrape content and do this type of thing. That's going to be, I think, a really good revenue source for a lot of media companies. But I think individuals with websites that they're doing this on are not going to, they're not going to start their own lawsuits. It's going to have some kind of class action behind it, I think.
I think you might be right. I mean, what I would say is that this is yet another indication to me that AI companies are doing themselves zero favors in the way that they're branding and educating people to the value of AI. In other words, they are moving so fast, arguably faster than the market wants them to move, because of the pressure that is perceived by everybody about how, there's this sort of, depending on your point of view, this sort of doomsday or rainbows and unicorns future of AGI, right? This sort of assistant, sort of task-based, basically robots, right? So, and so it's all, there's this sort of weird, fuzzy, not clear destination that all these companies seem to be racing toward, right? Which what they have failed to read the room in terms of, because you can feel it now with actual end users who, not the inside baseball crowd, who are interested in, like, when you and I were growing up and computers, right? So remember the late 90s, early 2000s, when every single month it felt like, there was Pentium 2, then Pentium 3, then Pentium 5, and Pentium XYZ plus A plus Hurricane technology, right? And there was all this advancement in speed of computers. And for the average user, for people like you and me who might be gaming, or who might be doing technology stuff, or who might be doing things, we kind of cared about that stuff. But the average user, like my mom or my sister or my wife, who don't care about computers, they didn't know. They didn't care, right? Did the computer do the thing that they needed them to do? Yes or no? And so people's use cases of these technologies are not changing nearly as fast as the technology is changing. And so it may or may not be getting better, but for the average user, it's not getting better. And so what they see then, because these AI companies are going, no, 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 trust us, it's so much better, it's so much more amazing, is that they're cutting corners and that they're creating negative experiences for companies as well as for users. And they're just not reading the room. They're just not reading the room of how to sell this stuff. It's like I ranted about last week, the company that basically goes, now you can just turn your blog into an automated, robot-driven, automated content distribution machine.
Yeah.
You don't need humans anymore. And it's like, well, you read the room. Nobody wants that. That's not what anybody is asking for. And it's an amazing thing to me that nobody has stepped up, except, I would argue, Apple, that is taking a very slow and considered approach to this. And I think Apple ultimately, with the integration into Siri and the assistant, if it is everything that they talked about, I think it's going to be the game. That will be the game changer to me.
It's interesting just about Apple. I'm one of those people that I don't want to upgrade my phone until I can't use it anymore.
Right.
I wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. This is the first time, because they said that all these benefits that are coming out, Apple Intelligence in September of this year. Right. And I need a 15 Pro or something. That's the first time I'm heavily considering upgrading my phone, just because I've always been let down by Siri. I really think that it could make a difference in my life somehow by adding that, and I want to see if it's even possible. But here's the thing: look at ChatGPT, OpenAI. It comes out with ChatGPT in what is it, November of 22? Is that right?
That's right.
I just saw their numbers. They did $3.4 billion last year. It's a baby company.
Yeah, and it's a small company.
But $3.4 billion in literally no time is that's unheard of.
True.
What they've been able to do. So I can see why these frontier AI companies are moving so fast and just breaking things, because
they have to. They almost have to.
Huge.
Yeah, they almost have to. But I think what's happening in the wash of all of that is that they're sort of, it's interesting that they may be spoiling a lot of what could be and the speed of what could be by simply, turning people off, right, to it, in a way, because it's not going to take too much of this stuff. I mean, when it first came out, of course, people, artists and creative people were like, this is crazy. This is, our jobs, and, you're going to destroy my livelihood, and you're going to destroy the creativity and all those kinds of things. And a lot of those in the early days, at least, have proven to be a little unfounded, because it's just not that good at the average level, right? I mean, there's so many posts these days about, if you think AI is not good at creating content, you're doing it wrong, basically. In other words, you're prompting it wrong. You're not giving it enough information. You're not, it's amazing as long as you give it enough, as long as you get good at it, right? And which is not unlike a Photoshop, right? Yeah, Photoshop is a lame piece of software unless you get good at Photoshop. And AI may be the same thing until it isn't, right? And Apple, to your point, may be the breaking point at which it becomes something that's what the consumer wants, right? That's what the consumer is looking for.
Yeah, they don't want AI. Nobody wants AI. They want to solve a problem.
That's right.
So Apple, it's funny that Apple Intelligence, if you listen to WWDC and the different, is that what it is? Worldwide? Yeah. And you like what they did? They were very strategic about their use of AI.
That's right.
Minimally did they use it.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that technology.
That's right.
It's about solving real problems.
Yes. Yeah.
Apple marketing. There you go. Boom.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then to our next story here, which is coming to us courtesy of The Drum. It's been a while since we've talked about The Drum.
I know. I like The Drum.
Yeah, The Drum it can be good. It's got its.
You don't like The Drum. You don't like anything today. You are get off my lawn, Drum.
I am a little snarky today. All right. Anyway, The Drum headline is TikTok debuts human-like AI-generated avatars and language dubbing for brands and creators. This is coming again courtesy of The Drum, and it is, I guess, reporting out of Cannes, where the announcement was made. The video sharing app, the story opens up, says, which is already embroiled in a legal battle with the U.S. government over its right to operate in the U.S., is forging further into AI advertising undeterred. The video sharing app, with over 1 billion monthly active users today, unveiled a new AI-powered set of tools for advertisers, including digital avatars and dubbing capabilities designed to translate branded messages into different languages across the globe. The announcement was made at the Cannes Lion International Festival of Creativity. And then, by the way, you have to register to actually keep reading this article, which I won't assume you all have, but the article goes on to talk about what it's actually doing there. And there are some other, by the way, news outlets that are reporting on this release as well. But basically the idea is that you can actually have these avatars speak language and basically dub and lip sync your words into it. And then it can also translate those into multiple languages. So you've got these sort of weird digital avatars. And the article goes on, by the way, to start talking, they sort of have named some of the avatars, like there's the Michelle avatar and those sorts of things. So
Michelle in the bathroom, Malik in the bathroom.
There it is. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Jim on the bed. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So it's not creepy at all.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange.
It's just really odd. What do you think?
It's pretty, I mean, just from reading this and clicking on a few things, it's pretty incredible. Like some of the things that they can do. Like if you don't just think of all the people and the resources that you had to spend to do this in the past. Like, this is like, I need a real person. I need somebody that speaks this in this way and whatever. Now I can send out 50 different languages with a click of the button.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And by the way, US is they're dragging their feet on the whole banning thing. That every day that goes by, it's going to get harder to do anything about TikTok.
Yeah.
And here's just another launching all kinds of stuff.
It's interesting to me because last week I got called into a focus group for my little city here where I live, and they're thinking about doing a new digital library. And so I was called in as sort of, I'm not a subject matter expert by any stretch of the imagination, but as someone who could sort of, participate in this focus group with a bunch of people to talk about in the community, what would that mean? What would a digital library mean? And we started talking about it. And where I brought up AI was the most fascinating use of this kind of thing that I've seen is, have you seen the, I think it was on 60 Minutes, where they had the World War II veterans that they had basically interviewed for 4 or 5 hours to pull all their stories and information out. And then they put that into a learning model where you could then turn on this screen in this museum and chat with the actual World War II veteran.
Oh, no, right? You're kidding.
No, it's cool. It's really, really cool. So they take all the information that they garnered and stories that they pulled from this, from this World War II vet, telling all these stories and answering all these questions. And basically then you can have a real-time conversation with this person, like, what did it feel like when you were, going into, battle and all that kind of stuff. And then they talk with you. They actually talk. So they use AI to animate the person and to, dub the voice and all of that. So take that model and now move it over to your CEO, right? Mm-hmm. So the chatbot on your website isn't anymore some text-based chatbot. It's literally the CEO in a video where you go in and you go, tell me about your product. And the CEO of the company starts to tell you about the product and all the benefits and all those kinds of things. We are not far from that. We are not far from that experience.
Well, here, I don't want to get too creepy, and I'm not taking this idea, whoever wants to do it, but this is what I believe is the future for funeral homes. It's like you somebody just passes away and you bury them, whatever your ritual is.
Yes, yeah.
But then as part of that package, you say, do you want a website where we'll upload all the information that you have on that? Like, it would be easy for you and I, because we've got so much video and audio information. It's like plug in all the writing, plug in everything that you know about that person, and then you go somewhere, you go on your device, and you can talk to that person anytime.
Oh my God. That's yes. Right.
So
There's a little
that's
there's a little kiosk embedded in your tombstone, basically, where you
Yeah.
at any time you can go talk to that person. Oh, that's
yeah,
weird. That's just
it's a virtual plot, if you will.
yeah.
And that plot is I'm still there. Hey, yeah. Hey, where were you? Like I've been waiting for you. I've been dead, but you just came to visit me now. Okay.
Oh
What do
my
you want to
gosh,
know?
that's crazy town.
That's
Yeah,
absolutely going to happen. And by the way, big money making opportunity.
I would think so.
I come
Yeah.
from the funeral industry. That's a thing that people would buy right now.
I'm
But
betting they
it's just-
would. I'm betting they would.
But I'm not allowed to start any more businesses.
there
There it is. Can't do it.
there you have it.
Forbidden.
All right. Let's move along to our hits and misses here, where Joe and I talk about a hit of the marketing in the last week, or a miss, somebody who failed or had a big miss. And I think we both have hits. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go
Yes.
first?
Well, as you know, I went to the U.S. Open at Pinehurst on the opening
That's right.
round. My beautiful wife and I, we went, and she loved the experience. We had a great time. But I think you know that I'm an American Express card holder and have been so for the business since 2007. And we've got this wonderful thing called a platinum card that we love. We get into the Amex clubs into airports generally.
Yep.
Sometimes they're in other locations, but most of the time you find
That's
them
right.
in airports, and they're the best. They're better than any. Well, you've probably been into some better ones, but they're hot,
They're good.
top
Yeah,
level,
they're good.
top
Yeah,
tier.
they're good. Yeah, they're good.
They're good. Well, at the U.S. Open, they had an American Express club right by the second hole there, where if you're a card holder, you go in line and you get air conditioned, you get no line for your drinks and whatever. They were giving out free like electrolyte water tastings, whatever. It was just really, really nice. And I know that's a whole privilege thing that I'm talking about here. I understand
Right.
that. But the fact that they were catering to their card holders, which is a great audience, is just amazing. And I never understood why more companies didn't do something like that. And I know you see it like with Capital One with their coffee shops and other things. Like, how do you have a business that you don't necessarily are not face to face with your your customers all the time? How do you create that space?
Yeah.
And really give added value and those types of things are the best. That's what keeps us loyal, I think. Like I always think about if I ever, I want to get rid of that card. I'm like, I love Amex clubs. Like that would be a big reason why I would want to keep that card. And there's just another reason where they do these pop-up shops, and it's amazing. So
yeah,
kudos to American Express this week.
It's good.
US Open.
Yeah, creating customer experiences. I mean, that's what they've been doing that and for years and years and years. And they understand content and content-driven experiences for creating customer loyalty better than a lot of brands. And so, everything from their small business network to their community that they've launched. God, I want to say we used to talk about it all the time as a great example of
absolutely
content marketing.
One of the OGs.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you got?
Because so look, everything is better with bacon. Let's just be very, very clear about that. This is an ad campaign that has launched from Oscar Mayer. I don't actually love Oscar Mayer bacon, but it's bacon, so it's good. But this ad campaign is a huge hit to me. It's really wonderful. So one of the things that they're trying to market here is they've got this new thick cut smoked bacon. And the challenge with smoked bacon is that it takes longer to prepare. And the thick cut bacon, it takes long. It's a longer, it's a longer process to actually prepare the bacon than just throwing it into a frying pan. And so they leaned into that, which is what I love, is the fact that they leaned into the fact that there's actually more friction with actually preparing this food than there is with the alternative. So they leaned into that, and they basically, this ad campaign, it opens up with sizzling bacon in a pan like you would normally see in any commercial. Then they interrupt it, and then they interrupt it with another commercial. So it's a commercial within a commercial. And so they interrupt it with this sort of lip gloss, and the writers clearly had a good time with this, because the lip gloss is called Glimier. So it's just it's very, very funny. So it's Glimier, right? Gillimmier. So it's got the French thing and everything.
Mhm.
And so it's a beautiful woman putting on this Glimier lip gloss, and with the voiceover. And then they cut from that commercial, cutting back to the smoked bacon now still being prepared, right? It's still taking a time to repair. Then they interrupt that commercial with another commercial of a guy shaving. He's like shaving and trying to get his beard just right. And it's the close up of the razor, with the 14,000 blades, trying to cut his face. And then they cut back to the commercial again, which is the bacon still cooking. It's like the whole thing is that it takes a lot to cook this stuff, and that's why it's differentiated and great. Just, I thought, wonderful creativity, great way to do advertising, to not only make something funny and interesting, but also just, a perfect, sort of a perfect ad. So I thought it's a big hit.
I have not watched it. I will watch it.
We have a link in the show notes that basically has the YouTube video of it. So
excellent.
You can find it on YouTube. It's just it's really good. Yeah.
Very, very nice.
There you go.
Who doesn't
All
love
right.
bacon? Everybody loves bacon.
Come on. That's one of my favorite things. All right. So it's now time for our rants and raves, your favorite part of the show, where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave that makes us feel like we're a Wells Fargo worker, or makes us feel like we're Wells Fargo.
You're getting air tagged without your knowledge.
Getting air tagged without your knowledge. All right. So again, do you want to go first here with your we both have raves again. So
mine is real quick. Yeah. This is an article, and I think it's gated, which I hate putting it, but it's from the New York Times, and it's an article that talks about how some of these outdoor magazines are really thriving in print. And some of them, believe it or not, are print only. Like, there's not an online version. I'm just going to read this portion of it, which I really like. It says, high-end niche periodicals are popping up, but the trend might be most evident in a burst of small batch independent outdoors magazines like Adventure Journal, Mountain Gazette, Summit Journal, and Ori. I think it's Ori. They are crowding into quiet spaces of narrow lanes, climbing, surfing, skiing, running, and the like, where quality is key. Advertising is minimal.
So New York Timesy. That's so New York Timesy. Oh my God.
Advertising is minimal and subscribers are faithful. Most do not put their content online. This is journalism meant to be thumbed through, not swiped past.
Yeah.
The magazines are sometimes oversized and matte finished, edge to edge photographs. They cost some $25 or more, meant to be much more than a coffee table book. A desire to be collectible, not disposable. I just, I know this is not fit for every brand out there.
Sure.
But again, the type of attention that you can get in print today is really amazing. It's funny. I got this one too. I don't know if you could see this. My friend Rob at Road 55, Rob.
Yeah, of course.
Got this publication where he's talking about a couple books that he's been in, Content Entrepreneur included. And it does a great job with this magazine.
Yeah.
They have a wonderful agency there in Canada, and they really differentiate by sending a print publication. And
that's,
I wish more people would look at that as an option. I'm not saying everyone should go do print. I'm just saying for some people, it's almost back in the day when you and I were meeting with some of these chief marketing officers, and they never thought that they would buy our media company or buy, and now they do.
Yeah.
But in the past, they didn't. It's like people forgot that print is even an option today as part of the marketing toolbox, if you will. And I keep talking about it, and maybe people will take me up on it.
I'll tell you, some of the most interesting marketing I've seen of late has been, so remember way back in the day in the 90s when we used to do these crazy origami sort of print packages, right? Where we would send gifts or weird boxes or sort of the puzzle print, where it would fold, it was like a magazine, and then it would fold out into a poster and, all this kind of stuff. Really just cool, interesting print material. I just got one the other day from a soap company where the box, they sent an empty box to their customers. And the empty box was like, why am I getting an empty box? But you open up the box, and on the inside, it's like, it was a little tease thing. And then you took the box apart. And as you started opening the box and taking it apart, you saw that it was basically a message saying, we wanted to send you something, a clean box, basically, because, you know, whatever the tagline was with this soap. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful piece that made me want to go, hey, I want to go see what this soap is all about. And it was a wonderful print piece that wasn't just your standard postcard or something like that.
So you like the soap in the box?
It
sounds like something that Justin Timberlake should do.
That's right. Yeah,
the soap
exactly.
in the box. Although JT not having a good week.
No, he's not having a good week at all.
Oh,
yeah, he is
JT,
not. That was going to be the original joke of the show, was that you were not driving with JT.
You know, when there's so much availability out there to not get into a car when you're like,
it's
why just
yeah.
Take an Uber,
well,
man. Take a lift.
What they're saying now is that this has been masking a problem that's been, you know, that he was basically successfully masking a problem that's been a problem for a few years. So hopefully he'll get the help that he needs. Okay. That's for sure. All right. I got a very quick thing. This was so yes, the Cannes Lion Creative International Festival of Creativity is happening this week. The International Festival of Creativity, right? Of course, it's in the south of France, right? It has to be.
Where else would it be?
It won't be in Florida, that's for sure. I mean, you don't hear about the Florida International Festival of Creativity.
It's not in Jack's Orlando, Florida.
No, you're not going to find that. You're going to find it in the south of France. But anyway, so what has been coming out, I'm just really encouraged, right? So in my book that came out late last year, and I've been talking a lot about this lately, you know, and so I admittedly will tell you that my tongue is a little bit in cheek here, right? When I say one of the things that we've talked a lot about is how content marketing, we thought it would become part of just marketing. And the reverse actually seems to be coming true. In other words, marketing is becoming what we would have classically thought of as content marketing. And, you know, and I know that's overstated and I know it's hyperbole, so don't at me. But I do believe that the essence of what we think of as great marketing strategy these days does come down to creating value that is separate and distinct from our brand with content. And what came out of 2 of the 4 grand prize winners that I saw come out this week from the early grand prize winners were exactly that, right? So one of the grand prize winners from coming out of Cannes was Siemens Healthcare. So Siemens Health and Ears, and they won for creating what they call their magnetic stories, which is content that basically, when you are a kid and you go in and you get an MRI, the MRI machine is super loud and super, you know, bangs around, and it's very scary if you can be as scary as an adult, but it's very scary as a kid. So what they've done is they've created these original stories where you go in and you put on headphones as a kid, and the banging of the MRI syncs to the actual story that you're listening to in your headphones. So in other words, if you're getting a particular brain scan where the MRI, you know, like chug, 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 you know, basically you're hearing a story about a train, and the train is chugging, and basically the MRI is helping with the sound effects of the story. And they created this amazing customer experience with this content that goes well beyond, obviously, but basically creates an amazing brand, amazing sort of customer experience. And they won a grand prize for it. And it's classically what we would think of as content marketing. The other one that I'll note is Pedigree, the pet food, that has this amazing ad campaign going on digital outdoor, right? So dynamic digital outdoor. So big billboards, digital bus signs, digital, you know, sort of everywhere digital outdoor that they can put these kiosks. And they have this whole campaign going, which is nothing but adopting dogs, right? So they're real dogs that are available for adoption. And basically it's like, you know, meet Tiny, this cute little Chihuahua, and you can adopt him, and you go to this URL and you can actually adopt the dog. And in real time, if the dog gets adopted, Pedigree pulls the dog off the inventory. So dynamically across the country in all these ad campaigns, they're pulling these ads on, pulling them off as a branding campaign to create this wonderful experience for people, and basically setting themselves up for, you know, wonderful success. Great content, great way of distributing it. Interesting classic ad, but I would call this sort of more of a content marketing type of an approach. Just wonderful. So just 2 fantastic campaigns that I want to rave about. but mostly I want to rave about the fact that it's this valuable, interesting content experience that is winning the day at con, and not just sort of cute ways to put a TV ad out.
It was only a matter of time. We knew it was only, and slowly but surely, it's happening.
It's super cool.
And they're taking credit for all your work at Con Lion.
All our work, yes, indeed, indeed.
Whatever. Like what? We guess
someday we might get invited to Con Lion. Yeah, I'm looking at all the people who get invited to con. The con.
No, I want to get invited to Con Lion. I want them to give me a little medallion, and then I want to order a drink from wherever I'm sitting at and have them bring it to me.
There it is. That's what I want. Champagne.
What do you got going on? What do you got going on this week?
I am working my little tail off. I'm traveling next week. And then my birthday is in a week, so I'll be celebrating that after our show. Wow. So next week we can talk about that and how amazing I am. And yeah, that's my week. So I'm preparing for my trip, my business trip, and doing that. How about you?
Very nice. We are spending a lot of time outside, even though it's very, very hot here in Cleveland. We've been going to baseball games, and I've been golfing and doing whatever. And Pam and I are celebrating an early anniversary gift for us, and we're going to the Dave Matthews Band concert.
Fantastic!
Coming early next week. So on the show next week, I'll tell you what I thought about Dave Matthews, which is probably going to be amazing. I've never seen them in person. I'm really looking forward to it. So
I like it.
Should be good.
There you have it.
There we go.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our wonderful show. We so appreciate you sticking around here. And we will see you again next week as we talk about Dave Matthews. We talk about my upcoming birthday. We talk about hashtag all the things. And until we see you next week, just remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.
Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.